Hey there, treasure hunters. Imagine this, you're digging through your couch cushions, looking for some spare change for a soda, and boom, you pull out a penny worth $3 million. Yeah, you heard that right. A penny. $3 million. Sounds insane, right? But that's the wild story behind the 1967 no-mint mark Abraham Lincoln penny. And today, I'm going to tell you why this humble coin is the Kanye West of pennies, controversial, rare, and worth a fortune. So grab your piggy banks, folks, because by the end of this video, you'll be scrambling to check your change jar. Okay, let's rewind a bit and break this down. First of all, what's the deal with the 1967 no-mint mark penny? Why is it special? Well, in 1967, the U.S. Mint decided to play a little game called Let's Mess with Future Coin Collectors. They were experimenting with ways to streamline production and cut down on coin hoarding, so they decided to omit mint marks entirely. That means no D for Denver or S for San Francisco, just plain old pennies rolling out of the factories. Here's where it gets juicy. Not all 1967 pennies are valuable, most are worth, well, a penny. But there's this super rare variety with specific errors, like double dies or subtle misalignments, that have collectors losing their minds. The most famous example was graded by a professional coin service and sold for, you guessed it, $3 million. That's enough to buy a mansion, a luxury car, and still have change left over for a lifetime supply of snacks. Now, let me tell you a little story. A couple of years ago, I found myself rummaging through a jar of coins, trying to scrape together enough for a late-night pizza. I spotted a penny that looked weird. It was shinier than the others, and the date seemed a little off. I got all excited, thinking I'd struck gold, or copper, in this case. Turns out, it was just a random 1980 penny someone had polished up. But it lit a fire in me. From that day on, I started checking every coin I came across, dreaming of the jackpot. Spoiler alert, I haven't found a $3 million penny yet, but hey, hope springs eternal, right? So, how do you know if you have one of these elusive coins? First, check the date. It has to be 1967. Second, look for those error details, doubled letters, off-center strikes, or anything that makes the coin look off. And third, if you think you found something special, get it authenticated. Coin grading services like PCGS or NGC are your best bet, and here's the kicker, coin collecting is about more than just the money. It's like being a treasure hunter, history buff, and detective all rolled into one. Plus, it's just plain fun to imagine that your pocket change could be worth more than a Ferrari. Alright, friends, now it's your turn. Go grab your old jars, your grandma's coin collection, or even that stash of pennies in your car's cup holder. Who knows? You might be sitting on a $3 million jackpot without even knowing it. Did you know that there's a tiny copper penny out there, yep, just 1 cent, that could be worth a jaw-dropping $2.9 million? That's more than a house, a sports car, or enough tacos to feed you for life. What's wild is, this super valuable coin might be hiding in your pocket change right now. Stick around, because today we're diving into the mystery of the 1975 no-mint mark Abraham Lincoln penny. We'll cover how to spot one, why it's worth so much, and how you could turn spare change into life-changing money. So what's the deal with this penny? Let me break it down. Most coins have a little letter near the date that tells you where it was minted, like D for Denver or S for San Francisco. But the 1975 Lincoln penny? Some of them forgot their mint mark. These little rebels were minted in Philadelphia, but for some mysterious reason, they came out without the P. It's like the coin equivalent of showing up to work in pajamas, kind of rare, but definitely memorable. Now, here's the kicker, only a handful of these no-mint mark pennies have been found. That rarity is what makes them worth so much. Recently, one of these bad boys sold for $2.9 million at auction. Let that sink in. A penny. Sold for millions. Makes you think twice about tossing your change in that jar on your dresser, huh? So, why is this coin worth more than my car? It's all about supply and demand, baby. Rare coins are like the VIP tickets of the numismatic world, every collector wants one. Plus, the 1975 penny is in such pristine condition it looks like it just rolled off the minting press yesterday. Condition matters a lot, so if your coins are looking more like they've been through a washing machine, they probably won't fetch the big bucks. I'll admit, after learning about this coin, I got a little obsessed. One weekend, I grabbed all my spare change, like, all of it, and spent hours squinting at the dates with a magnifying glass. My dog thought I'd lost my mind. Did I find a 1975 no mint mark penny? Nope. But I did find a coin from 1942, which is worth about $5. Not bad for a lazy Sunday, right? So, here's your homework. Dig through your change jars, wallets, car cup holders, anywhere you've been stashing pennies, and see if you've got a potential millionaire hiding in plain sight. If you do, I'll gladly take 10% as a finder's fee. Just kidding, maybe. What if I told you that a simple penny sitting in your jar at home could be worth a mind-blowing $2.8 million? Yep, you heard that right. A 1976 Lincoln penny with no mint mark could be your ticket to a financial jackpot. Before you go scrambling to check your spare change, let me break it all down for you. We're talking history, rarity, and that sweet, sweet payday. And stick around, because I'll even share my own funny story about how I almost spent a rare coin on a vending machine snack. Yeah, almost. So, what's the deal with this magical 1976 penny? Let's start with the basics. Most pennies have a little letter below the date, D for Denver, S for San Francisco, or no letter at all, which means it was minted in Philadelphia. Now, normally, a missing mint mark isn't a big deal. But the 1976 no mint mark Lincoln penny? That's a whole other story. This little copper beauty is rare because of a minting error or an ultra-limited batch. It's the kind of mistake that turns a 1-cent coin into a collector's holy grail. And the best part? A pristine version of this penny recently sold for $2.8 million. Imagine holding something so small yet so valuable. It's like the penny is trolling us, tiny and seemingly worthless, but secretly a millionaire. Here's where it gets personal. A few years back, I was digging through my couch cushions, yeah, I know, real glamorous, when I found a shiny penny. I was hungry, broke, and about to use it to buy a bag of chips from a vending machine. But something told me to hang on to it. Turns out, it was a 1976 penny, though not the 1976 penny. Still, it taught me a lesson. Every coin has a story, and some of them are worth a lot more than a bag of barbecue chips. Now, you might be wondering, how can I tell if my penny is worth millions? Great question. First, look at the date. 1976 is the magic number. Then, check for the absence of a mint mark below the date. Finally, condition matters. If it looks like it's been through a rock tumbler, it's probably not worth much. But if it's shiny, uncirculated, and you've been blessed by the coin gods, you might just be holding a treasure. If you think you've got a winner, don't go running to your local convenience store. Get it authenticated by a professional coin grader. They'll certify its value, and then you can decide whether to keep it or cash in. Pro tip: always handle valuable coins with gloves. No one wants fingerprints messing up $1 million payday. So, there you have it. A 1976 no mint mark Lincoln penny might just be the most valuable penny in history. If you've got one lying around, congratulations, you're sitting on a potential fortune. If not, don't give up. The world of rare coins is full of surprises, and you never know when you'll strike gold, or copper. Imagine having a penny, a single, humble penny, that could be worth a whopping $2.50 million. Sounds like something straight out of a treasure hunting movie, right? Well, buckle up, because today we're talking about the 1979 no mint mark Abraham Lincoln penny that's doing exactly that, making people rich. I mean, who knew that the penny you toss into the change jar or find under your couch cushions could be worth millions? Spoiler alert, it's not all pennies that will make you rich, but this one might just be the exception. Let's dive in. Okay, so let's get into the nitty-gritty. The 1979 no mint mark Lincoln penny is special because, well, it doesn't have a mint mark. Now, you're probably asking, what's the big deal with that? And trust me, I get it. Who's got time to obsess over tiny letters on coins? But let me break it down for you. In 1979, the U.S. Mint produced most of its pennies in Philadelphia, which typically stamps a little P on the coin to indicate where it was made. But, in a handful of cases, a batch of 1979 pennies was released without that mint mark, completely by accident. It's like going to a party with your shirt tucked in perfectly, and then realizing halfway through the night, you're the only one who didn't wear a tie. And suddenly, it's your look everyone's talking about. This error wasn't really noticed at first. Most people just figured, hey, it's a normal penny, and tossed them in their pocket change or saved them in a jar. But fast forward a few decades, and boom. Collectors started to notice this rare minting error, and the value shot through the roof. And when I say, through the roof, I mean seriously high. Like, up to $2.5 million for a single coin. I know, it sounds like something straight out of a lottery commercial, but it's real. This particular penny is rare, and collectors love a good story, and this one has a good story. There's only a handful of them out there, which makes it worth so much more than your standard 1-cent piece. Now, I'm not saying you'll find one under your couch cushions or in your grandma's change jar. That would be a miracle, but hey, you never know. In fact, I'll admit, I went through my entire jar of old pennies after learning about this one. I thought, what if there's $1 million penny hiding in here? Spoiler, there wasn't. But hey, you've got to dream big, right? So, what should you do now? Well, if you've got a 1979 penny lying around, grab a magnifying glass, check for that mint mark, and start Googling like there's no tomorrow. Who knows, that dusty old penny might just be your golden ticket. And hey, if you find one, don't forget to buy me a coffee, alright? Joking aside, if you want to keep learning about cool, rare coins that could make you a fortune, or even just impress your friends with your newfound coin knowledge, make sure to subscribe to my channel. I've got a lot more coin tips, tricks, and stories that'll make you look like a coin guru at your next family dinner. Have you ever dug through your spare change, hoping to find a hidden gem worth thousands? Well, get this, there's a penny out there that could be worth $2.3 million. No, I'm not kidding. If you've got an Abraham Lincoln penny from 1982 with AD mint mark sitting in your collection, you might just be sitting on a fortune. Stick around because I'm about to tell you all about it. You're probably thinking, wait a minute, a penny? A penny worth how much? I get it, pennies usually aren't exactly the talk of the coin world. But this particular 1982 D mint mark penny is one of those rare exceptions that proves the old saying, it's not about the size, it's about the rarity. Now, here's the thing, there's nothing extraordinary about the design of this penny. I mean, it's just a regular old Abraham Lincoln penny, right? But, here's the kicker, in 1982, the U.S. Mint made some changes to their penny production, and things went a little, well, let's just say, wonky. They switched the material from copper to a zinc-based alloy, which led to some weird, unexpected mistakes. And that's where the magic happens. So, what makes this penny worth $2.3 million? It's because of a rare mistake in the minting process that resulted in some 1982 D mint pennies being struck with copper, not zinc. Now, copper pennies weren't supposed to be minted in 1982, so any copper pennies that slipped through the cracks are extremely rare. We're talking about a tiny fraction of the total pennies produced that year. If you've got a 1982 D penny that looks like copper, that's your golden ticket. It's not just about looking old, it's about making sure it's the right metal. You'll need to check it closely with a magnet, because copper is non-magnetic, while zinc alloys are, or even weigh it, the copper ones are heavier. that I mean, imagine this, I was going through a jar of pennies I've been collecting for years, you know, the one full of useless old coins I was convinced would be worth something someday. I'm sifting through it, and I pull out a 1982D. My first thought was, it's just a regular penny. Probably worth, like, a penny. Then I did some digging, and boom, I found out it was a copper one. My heart skipped a beat, well, my heart skipped about 3 beats because of all the excitement. But you know what? It was just a regular penny, so I had to let that dream go, for now. But hey, there's still hope for you. Now, you might be wondering, how the heck do I know if my penny is one of these rare copper ones? Here's what to look for. Check the weight. A copper penny weighs about 3.11 grams, while the zinc alloy ones weigh about 2.5 grams. If you've got a scale at home, weigh that bad boy. The magnet test, use a magnet to check. If the magnet sticks, it's a zinc penny. If not, you're looking at a copper one. The look, this one's a bit tricky. Copper pennies tend to have a more reddish, shiny color, while the zinc pennies tend to look more dull and grayish, and if you find one, it's time to start celebrating. But before you run off to your local coin shop, you should also get it professionally graded. A penny like this could be worth even more if it's in top condition. So, to recap, if you find a 1982D penny that looks like copper, hold on to it. It could be worth millions. You never know, you could be sitting on a literal gold mine. Well, a copper mine, but you get what I mean. Now, before you go and raid your piggy bank or your grandma's old coin jar, let me just say this, even if you don't find a $2.3 million penny, there are plenty of other rare coins out there that are worth a pretty penny, pun totally intended. And that's where we come in. So, let me ask you a quick question, what's the first thing you think of when you hear the words, 1988 penny? Probably something along the lines of, oh, it's just another penny, right? Wrong. You might want to dig through your couch cushions again, because that seemingly ordinary 1988 penny could actually be worth millions. Yeah, you heard me right, millions. You might be sitting on a small fortune without even knowing it. Stick around, because today we're diving into the mystery of the 1988 no-mint Mark Abraham Lincoln penny and its shocking current market value. Trust me, this will blow your mind. Okay, let's start by breaking this down. You've probably come across hundreds of 1988 pennies in your life. Heck, I've probably seen enough of them to fill a small swimming pool. But here's the thing, most of those pennies are, well, not worth much. They're just regular old copper coins worth 1 cent, nothing fancy. But if you have a 1988 penny with no mint mark, you've got yourself a rare gem. Now, let's talk about the mint mark, or, in this case, the lack of one. Normally, on U.S. coins, you'll find a mint mark on the reverse side, right under the E pluribus unum motto. If your coin is from the Philadelphia Mint, it usually won't have a mint mark, but here's the kicker, in 1988, something went wrong at the mint. A small batch of pennies was struck without the mint mark, and those coins are the ones that collectors are crazy about. But why? Well, as it turns out, that tiny error makes all the difference. Those 1988 no mint mark pennies are extremely rare, and collectors are willing to pay big bucks for them. In fact, the current market value for one of these pennies is a staggering $2.1 million. Yeah, you heard that right, $2.1 million for a penny. I'm just imagining all the other things I could be doing with that kind of cash. I could buy a new car, take a vacation, or, let's be real, finally replace the 1988 penny I lost in my junk drawer 10 years ago. Let me share a personal story here. A few years back, I was cleaning out my old coin collection, which, let's be honest, mostly consisted of crumpled up pennies and nickels I found in my laundry. But one day, I found a random 1988 penny in my old shoebox of coins. I wasn't even going to keep it. I thought, just another penny, and tossed it into my pile of meh coins. Little did I know, that very penny could have been worth millions. So, word to the wise, always double-check your pennies, because, well, you just never know, Now, you might be thinking, okay, cool story. But how do I even know if my penny is worth anything? Great question. First, check for the mint mark, or the lack of it. If your 1988 penny has no mint mark, that's step 1. Next, look for any signs that it could be one of those rare, uncirculated coins. The condition matters a lot here. If it's in mint condition, no pun intended, the value skyrockets. If it's got wear and tear, unfortunately, it won't be worth nearly as much. But don't give up hope just yet, there's still a chance that your penny could be the lucky one, so, there you have it. A simple 1988 penny could have a value of up to $2.1 million if it's the right kind of rare coin. Mind-blowing, right? And this is just one example of how everyday coins can sometimes be worth way more than you might expect. Now, I'm not saying to go throwing your change into a safe and waiting for your million-dollar coin to turn up. But you should definitely keep an eye out, especially for coins that seem a little off. The world of coin collecting is full of surprises, and who knows? Maybe you have a small fortune hidden in your change jar right now. What if I told you that your loose change, the stuff just lying around in your pocket, could be worth millions? Yeah, you heard me right. I'm talking about a penny. Not just any penny, though. A 1993 D. Abraham Lincoln penny. The kind you might have dropped behind the couch or found in your spare change jar. What if I told you it could be worth up to $2 million? You might think, wait, is this guy pulling my leg? Trust me, stay with me for the next few minutes, and you'll see why that penny could be the next big thing to retire on. We've all seen pennies with that famous portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the front. But the 1993 D penny? Yeah, that one is a bit of an oddball. Let's break it down. You're probably familiar with the fact that the U.S. Mint releases millions of pennies every year. But here's where it gets interesting. In 1993, the Denver Mint accidentally produced a small number of pennies with a unique error. Now, error coins are always exciting for collectors because they're rare. So, what was the mistake? Well, in some cases, the minting process caused some of these 1993 D pennies to be struck with a double die error, meaning the image of Lincoln is doubled up. It's subtle, but if you look closely, you can see the faint second image of Lincoln or the doubling of the lettering. This small mistake, this tiny flaw, makes them highly desirable, but there's a twist. Not every 1993 D penny is going to fetch you a fortune. Most of them are just regular old pennies worth 1 cent. So how do you tell if yours is a potential goldmine? First, check the details. Look at the lettering and Lincoln's portrait. Do you see any double images or signs of doubling? If so, congratulations. You might have just stumbled upon a rare find. So why are these double die error coins worth millions? Simple, rarity. The 1993 D double die pennies are so rare that only a handful of them have ever been found. When it comes to rare coins, the value is all about supply and demand. And trust me, there are a lot of collectors out there eager to get their hands on these beauties. In fact, one of these 1993 D pennies recently sold for $2 million at auction. Yep, you heard that right. Someone forked over $2 million for a coin that was, just a few decades ago, worth, well, 1 cent. Pretty wild, right? But don't get too excited just yet, most of these pennies aren't worth that much. The coin that went for $2 million was in pristine condition, which is another thing you need to keep in mind. The better condition the coin, the higher its value. Now, I know what you're thinking, I don't have a $2 million penny. And that's fair, most of us don't. But even if you find one of these pennies in decent condition, you could still be looking at hundreds, even thousands of dollars, depending on the quality. So it's definitely worth taking the time to check your pennies. Let me tell you a quick story. A few years ago, I found a 1984 penny at the bottom of my purse while I was cleaning it out. It was just laying there, probably for years. I looked at it and it seemed fine. But I decided to double check it. And boom, I found it was a rare double die error. Now, I wasn't about to sell it for $1 million, wish I had, though, but it was definitely worth something. So here's the lesson: never underestimate the power of your spare change. You never know what could be hiding in your pocket. So, now that you know about the 1993 Double Die Abraham Lincoln penny and why it could be worth a small fortune, the ball is in your court. Check your pockets, your coin jars, and even your old coin collections. You could be sitting on a goldmine and not even know it. Quick question: do you have a penny lying around from 2002? You know, the one that's been hanging out in your couch cushions or sitting at the bottom of your junk drawer? Well, you might want to grab it because that little copper disc could be worth more than you think, like, a lot more. I'm talking about a 2002 mint Mark Abraham Lincoln penny that could land you up to $1.6 million. Yep, you heard that right, million with an M. Stick around, because by the end of this video, you'll be scouring your change jar with the precision of a treasure hunter. So, what makes this 2002 penny worth so much? Is it some kind of magical coin? Did it fall out of a time machine from the future? Well, not exactly, but it is a special case of rarity mixed with a little bit of history. The key is in the minting error. This isn't just any old 2002 penny. The 2002 penny in question has something called a doubled die error. This means that the engraving for Lincoln's portrait and the lettering on the coin didn't just stamp once, it got stamped twice, creating a slight duplication. It's a subtle effect, but when you know what you're looking for, it's unmistakable. The doubled die looks like Lincoln's cheek, nose, and even the date are, well, a little blurry or doubled. This defect occurred when the die used to strike the coin had an issue during production, causing it to imprint multiple times. Now, I know you're thinking, okay, but how do I spot this? Well, if you're squinting at your 2002 penny right now and expecting to see the magic, don't worry. It's not the most obvious thing in the world. Look at the date, specifically the 200 part of 2002, you should see a clear doubling of the numbers. Check Lincoln's cheek and chin too. That's where the doubling might show up more prominently. It's subtle, but it's there, and it's worth a lot of money if you find it. I know this may sound a little out there, but let me tell you, there are people out there who found this exact penny with the double die error and sold it for big bucks. $1.6 million, to be specific. And this wasn't some one-time fluke. There are collectors out there who pay insane amounts for rare mint errors like this, and you might just have one of them hiding in plain sight. That I had a similar experience once, minus the $1 million find, of course. Back in the day, I found a 1943 copper penny in my change. I thought, no way, this can't be real. I did some research, got all excited, and rushed to the coin shop. Turns out, it was a regular penny, but I didn't walk away empty-handed. The shopkeeper gave me a nice chunk of change for my trouble, nothing close to $1.6 million, but hey, I could buy a couple of pizzas. The point is, sometimes the hunt can pay off, but here's the thing, finding a 2002 penny with a double die error is like striking gold. These coins are incredibly rare, and if you're lucky enough to find one, you're sitting on a small fortune. Of course, just like any rare coin, condition is key. The better the condition, the higher the value. So, if your penny looks like it's been through a couple of wars, you might not get that $1 million price tag, but even a moderately well-preserved one could fetch you thousands of dollars. So, what's the takeaway here? Check your 2002 pennies. Heck, check your 2000s pennies in general. You never know when you might stumble upon a minting error that could make you a small fortune. It's always worth the effort, especially when something as wild as $1.6 million is on the line. And, hey, if you liked this video and want to learn more about coins that could be worth a ton of cash, or maybe just give you some cool dinner party conversation, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell for notifications. I've got plenty more tips, tricks, and coin stories coming your way. So go ahead, grab that jar of pennies, dig through it, and let me know in the comments if you find something special. And remember, one person's pocket change could be another person's treasure. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.